Swadika, very good evening and welcome to Thai PBS World Tonight. I'm Nabunag.
And I'm Hatay Shakitiran. Good evening. And kickstarting the program tonight with some good news as Thailand will very soon be removed from the UK's red list and vaccination certificates from Thailand will also be recognized. So the British ambassador broke the news very late last night that Thailand will be removed from the red list from next Monday at 4 a.m. UK time onwards, and that the UK will recognize vaccine certification from Thailand for vaccines that have received the Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency or MHRA's approval, which include AstraZeneca and the ones produced in Thailand as well as abroad, Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson Janssen. So we need actually 2 doses of these brands, but actually mix and match between these brands are also acceptable. But the mix and match with other makes such as Sinovac or Sinopharm are not considered being fully vaccinated. And so Thailand is among 47 countries and territories being removed from the list. The move came very soon after the UK dropped its advice against all but essential travel for 32 countries. So I had the honor and pleasure to have interviewed the new ambassador, His Excellency Mark Gooding, yesterday, Kanat. And of course, we'll share the scoop with you later this month. But the ambassador also mentioned how the embassy was working hard to get Thailand off the list, which is part of the gradual lifting of restrictions in the UK. So what does it mean? This means that if you're fully vaccinated with the vaccines we just mentioned, which are AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, and Moderna, no less than 2 weeks before you travel. So you can travel without going through a quarantine or providing COVID test results, but you will still have to go through a COVID test on the day after your arrival and pay for it in advance as well.
Exactly. It's definitely good news for Thai people who want to travel to the UK. But the question is, what about those who have been fully inoculated with Sinovac or Sinopharm? Those inoculated with either Sinovac or Sinopharm can still go to the UK, but they have to go through a 10-day quarantine. At the same time, if you're inoculated with the first jab of Sinovac and AstraZeneca as the second jab, this mix and match approach is not recognized yet. And moving on to the current situation of the COVID-19 pandemic in Thailand, although the overall situation has sort of improved, but in the deep south, so the 4 provinces in the deep south of Thailand are seeing surges in new cases as well as clusters. So it looks like the lockdown measures will be introduced for these provinces very soon. The Public Health Permanent Secretary, Dr. Kietiporn Wongrachit, revealed that the lockdown restrictions will be reintroduced in Thailand's 4 southern border provinces of Songkhla, Yala, Pattani, and Narathiwat, possibly in either November or December if the COVID-19 situation does not improve by then. Dr. Kietiporn was assigned by the Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha to visit the 4 provinces to help local officials with controlling the pandemic after new infections steadily increased following the easing of lockdown restrictions there. However, he is optimistic that local health officials will be able to curb the spread of COVID-19 in 2 months after an acceleration in mass vaccinations, and there will be no need to reintroduce the restrictions. But due to the spread of disinformation about vaccines, many people in the 4 predominantly Muslim provinces are reluctant to get vaccinated, prompting health officials to solicit help from religious leaders and the Muslim spiritual leader to explain about the safety of the vaccines and their ability to reduce the hospitalizations and severe symptoms. And so far, about 100,000 doses of vaccines were recently sent to the 4 provinces, including many antigen test kits and about 1 million antiviral favipiravir tablets. However, Dr. Kietiporn noted that the rate of vaccination and the use of the antiviral medicine in the region are still low. Yesterday in Mueang District of Yala Province, health officials in PPE gowns embarked on a door-to-door mission to conduct COVID-19 tests on 280 targeted people after 741 new infections were recorded in the province. The mayor of Mueang District Municipality said that there's one community that was targeted for the proactive screening because several people there were found to be infected with COVID-19.
Thailand's Bethong district has also been identified as a high-risk area. 93 people linked to the wet market in the municipal area were found to be infected, prompting the mayor to order the market to be disinfected and all traders to undergo tests today. So in neighboring Pattani province, 502 new infections were recorded yesterday, raising the cumulative infections in the province since August to 2,420. And currently, there are 17 general hospitals and 17 field hospitals in the 4 provinces. And of some 4,100 beds in general hospitals and 954 beds in field hospitals, only 185 are unoccupied. And according to the Disease Control Department, the cumulative infections in these 4 provinces since April 1st are almost 120,000 cases, excluding the infected prisoners. And about 1,950 new cases and 11 deaths were also recorded yesterday. And speaking of all this, Kunal, we can see that the number of COVID cases nationwide today have also rebounded back, exceeding 10,000 level to 11,140.
Exactly. And we've been seeing new cases at this level recently. After a few days ago, we've been seeing that it was about 9,000. So a lot of hopes that the situation is under control at the time, but because of the current situation in the deep south, it has contributed to the rise of new COVID-19 infections.
And moving on to the vaccination situation. So we reported last week that the mass Pfizer inoculation campaign for school students has kickstarted. And when you thought you have seen everything, Kunal, well, maybe we haven't, because when you think the so-called anti-vaxxers or those who are against being vaccinated only in the US or other Western countries, it actually happens here in Thailand as well. The Thai hashtag Pfizer for Students became the top trending hashtag on Twitter in Thailand for 2 consecutive days, which resulted in a fierce debate on why some students, dubbed as the Thai version of the so-called anti-vaxxers, are refusing to be inoculated with the mRNA COVID-19 vaccine. And among those joining the conversation was veteran DJ Yuttana Bunam, better known as Patet, who posted on his Facebook page that a group of students are against the use of Pfizer, as they've been told by their parents not to get inoculated with this vaccine, following a widely circulated message sent via the Line messaging app. So, but that also explained that the message in question falsely claims that the Pfizer vaccine is dangerous and that the Pfizer is genocide, even, which he said is fake news. So Twitter users also shared that some high school students were disqualified from receiving the mRNA vaccine and were asked to opt for the mix and match vaccine regimen instead, as their age is in between 17 and 18. So some of them shared this misinformation along with messages stating that teachers have asked students voluntarily to opt out of getting vaccinated with Pfizer because there's not enough vaccine for all students. And other Twitter users claim that 2,600 secondary students at a school in Phetchaburi province weren't allowed to receive Pfizer because the school director did not submit their names to the hospital. One Twitter user, however, tweeted that they have submitted the names already and they will be vaccinated today. So, of course, some people also received a notice saying that they should cut their hair neatly and not color their hair before getting vaccinated. Though students are aware that the dress code and haircuts have nothing to do with the side effects of course, COVID vaccination. So it's now been 4 days since the Public Health Ministry began its mass inoculation. And the aim is to inoculate 5 million students, and around 3.6 million have registered so far.
Meanwhile, the Director General of the Disease Control Department, Dr. Opat Gawinpong, stated that the use of Pfizer in children has been approved by the World Health Organization and Thailand's Food and Drug Administration. As for the side effects, which many people are so worried about, which is the heart muscle inflammation, Dr. Opat explained that only 6 people out of 100,000 experience such symptoms. At the same time, the Permanent Secretary of the Public Health Ministry, Dr. Kietipu Wongrachit, revealed that they found 1 case of heart muscle inflammation, which is related to vaccines. He said that the case is an obese 13-year-old boy who has already recovered from the disease.
And of course, we all want the vaccines with highest efficacy and the safest without any side effects at all. But that's probably not available right now in the world. And we have to work with what we've got. And if we all remember, there were calls some months back to ditch the whole virus vaccine for mRNA vaccine. So now we got it.
Exactly, we got them, especially for the children who are supposed to go back to school this November. However, with the anti-vaxxers that are going on, not just in Thailand, but many Western countries, there's a lot of conspiracy theories that have been spreading on messaging apps and social media, and that has stopped people to get vaccinated because they already believed in such theories. And before we go on, remember you said that one of the Twitter users revealed that they were asked to cut their hair and not to color their hair before the vaccination. Personally, I think it's extremely ridiculous because you're forcing the students to go by the rules without considering the relation with the vaccination. And of course, it has nothing to do with the side effects. And now let's move on to a lighter story. This week, the U.S. Embassy in Bangkok began the construction of its new building with its groundbreaking ceremony being held yesterday. And this new facility not only aims to enhance the relations between the U.S. and Thailand, but the building itself also aims to tackle climate change. The groundbreaking ceremony for the U.S. Embassy's new building marks the beginning of a new chapter in elevating the relations between Thailand and the United States. On this occasion, the U.S. Chargé d'Affaires Michael Heath and the Director General of the Department of American and South Pacific Affairs of the Foreign Affairs Ministry, Wichok Wetachiwa, took part in the ceremony. The new building is being built in the embassy's existing compound and is expected to be fully operational by 2025. The new building will bring all the departments together in one place, as the embassy's offices are currently scattered across Bangkok. The architect said that this project was inspired by the uniqueness of Thai traditional architecture, as well as the Bangkok lifestyle, where people are closely connected to green spaces despite living in the city. The design features both Thai and American architecture, while aiming to be more sustainable and environmentally friendly. And the biggest design challenge is coping with the weather changes in Bangkok, known for its hot and humid climate, as well as heavy rain and occasional flooding. As the architect explains, a number of techniques have been used, not only to keep up with the weather conditions, but to also give it a relationship with the surrounding area.
You know, we're using a lot of elements in the building to shade it passively. By shading the glazing, you're removing a great deal of thermal heat gain on the facade. And by doing that, you can impact the cooling loads on the building. Another element is stormwater collection that can occur on site, and then using that gray water for irrigation when it gets dry outside. So a lot of focus on passive strategies we believe are critical to sort of moving the bar in the right direction when it comes to dealing with trying to address some of the challenges we experiencing with climate.
The construction engineer for this project also said that it is important to maintain the existing green space within the compound. However, one of the difficulties they've experienced, particularly during the COVID-19 lockdown, is the labor workforce as well as the construction material shortage.
We found out as a contractor is having a hard time bringing in experienced labor and even non-experienced, labor workforce. Because one, the market is very competitive. I mean, there's construction going on everywhere, just around here and throughout Bangkok. But also two, with the pandemic and many of the local workforce, especially what we had, the shutdown that we had in June and July, where a majority of the man camps were either shut down or construction was shut down. So a lot of the workers went back home to their town. To their homes in the cities up north. So those are really our challenges right now. Another one is what everybody else is dealing with is the supply chain challenges. Materials, shortages of materials, shortages of equipment, bringing in the shipment challenges because everything's sort of backed up. So those are the type of challenges that not only us, but a lot of other construction industries are dealing with.
At the same time, the United States will invest up to $625 million in the entire project, and the construction will require at least 2,000 Thai workers throughout the project, and the U.S. Embassy believes that it will help contribute to the Thai economy. The deputy spokesperson of the U.S. Embassy in Thailand said that the expansion of the embassy's compound will help to strengthen bilateral cooperation between the U.S., Thailand, and the Southeast Asian region as a whole.
Well, this construction project really reflects the importance we place on our relationship with Thailand. It's a pretty big project. Right now, the embassy is quite large, and a lot of our offices are spread around Thailand in rented buildings, just like we are in right now. This new office annex allows us to pull everyone on our team together and operate in one space. Our embassy here is not only focused on our relationship with Thailand, but many of our offices like USAID and others are focused on the region. Embassy Bangkok is one of our kind of regional hubs, so it's one of the largest embassies in the world.
Of course, climate change is being the focus of many countries this year, apart from COVID, and it's also expected that more people working towards the solutions will also get Nobel Prizes to be announced later tonight. So it's good to see that we're doing something about it, of course, and hopefully that is not too late.
Exactly. And with the aims to tackle climate change, environmental issues, with the design and the construction of this new building, what the architect said, which I find it really interesting, was that preparing a building is like preparing a special meal where you have to come up with the right design and prepare all the suitable materials to make a great building.
Well, that sounds fascinating indeed. And with that, we wrap up this edition of Thai PBS World Tonight. But do catch us like this every weekday from 7 p.m. for all the top stories and, of course, our cheeky commentaries. Do have a nice weekend.
And don't forget to follow us on social media as well as our website, thaipbsworld.com, for all the latest updates as well as in-depth analyses. Also, don't forget tonight at 11 p.m. we also have our weekly program this week with Thai PBS World on Thai PBS channel. So don't forget to tune to this program as well, because we'll have the in-depth analyses of the current situation as well as exclusive interviews as well. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, and we'll see you next Monday. สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีค่ะ